The colonial fleet emerged from FTL in waves, each one adding to the growing armada. Ships of every size and type filled space around Earth's star system, massive colony carriers that housed thousands, sleek military vessels from worlds that had built their own defense forces, even merchant ships armed with whatever weapons their crews could mount. Daeho watched the display with tears in his eyes. Humanity had answered. From 1,000 worlds across countless light years they had come when Earth called. Count? Yoonji asked, her voice tight with emotion. 200 ships and still arriving, Hyunwoo reported. I'm getting communications from colony fleets. They want to know where to form up. Tell them to rally at the orbital platform. Organize them into battle groups, and someone get me a link to the fleet commanders. Within an hour, a command structure formed. Colonial admirals coordinated with Yoonji, sharing tactical data and planning strategy. The Dominion fleet had retreated to the edge of the system, watching this unexpected development. Their 41 ships faced over 200 human vessels. A transmission came from the largest colonial ship. This is Admiral Jinho of the Colony World Defense Fleet. Commander Yoonji, Earth Defense, we received your distress call. We're here to bring you home, Yoonji smiled. Admiral, it's good to hear from you. Earth thanks you for coming. Earth is humanity's heart, Jinho replied. When the heart calls, the whole body responds. Now let's deal with these Dominion ships. The combined human fleet organized quickly. Modern tactics combined with Earth's ancient knowledge created a battle plan that used every advantage. They wouldn't just defeat the Dominion. They would send a message that would echo across the galaxy. The Dominion fleet commander tried one last time to negotiate. Human vessels, you are still outnumbered. Our reinforcements will arrive in 3 days. Surrender Earth now and we will spare your colonies, Yoonji responded. You still don't understand. Earth isn't just a planet. It's not just dirt and water. Earth is an idea. The idea that humans don't kneel. The idea that freedom is worth fighting for. You can destroy the planet, kill every human, but you'll never kill that idea. She paused, then continued. 600 years ago, you threatened Earth. We scattered across the galaxy rather than submit. You thought you won, but every colony we built, every world we settled, every child we raised carried Earth with them. You didn't defeat us. You made us stronger. Now we're home, and we're not leaving again. The battle began at dawn on Earth's 3rd day. The human fleet advanced in a coordinated assault. Formations that had been practiced by colonial militaries for generations finally put to use. The Dominion ships fought back desperately, but they were overwhelmed by sheer numbers and determination. Minho piloted the Infinite Horizon alongside colonial cruisers, his survey ship tiny but fierce. Soman had managed to restore shields and weapons during the brief respite. The engineer watched her systems with pride as they held against Dominion fire. I built this ship for exploration, she said. Never thought I'd fight a battle in it. You build good ships, Daeho told her. Now let's use them to defend our home. The Earth defense cruisers, battered but unbroken, led assault groups. Guardian crews shared their expertise with colonial captains. The fighting style of old Earth combined with innovations from 600 years of human expansion created tactics the Dominion had never encountered. Sunho coordinated with Quan on the ground, directing surface fire to support orbital operations. Every time a Dominion ship tried to break through to Earth, ground batteries drove them back. The planet itself fought, its ancient weapons proving their worth. In the command center, Jiwoo recorded everything with Mirai. The historian Guardian watched human civilization come together with tears streaming down her face. We dreamed of this, she whispered. In those last days before we went into stasis, we dreamed that humanity would unite again, that they would come home. The dream came true, Jiwoo said, squeezing her hand. Look at them. Humans from 1,000 different worlds all fighting for Earth. The battle raged for hours. Dominion ships fell one by one, overwhelmed by coordinated human tactics. Their shields collapsed under sustained fire from multiple directions. Their weapons couldn't target enough ships at once. They had prepared for a small defending force, not an entire civilization responding to danger. When the Dominion fleet was reduced to 15 ships, their commander finally requested terms. Yoonji listened to the transmission with satisfaction. We acknowledge human control of Earth Prime, the alien said stiffly. We will withdraw our forces. But the Dominion will return, in greater numbers. This is not over. You're right, Yoonji agreed. It's not over. But now you know what you're facing. Every time you threaten humanity, we'll respond. Every world, every colony, every ship. You wanted to enslave us 600 years ago. Today you learned why that was a mistake. Return to your empire and tell them. Humanity is united. Earth stands, and we're not afraid of the Dominion anymore. The surviving alien ships retreated, jumping to FTL and fleeing the system. Across the human fleet, celebrations erupted. Ships fired their weapons in salute, creating patterns of light in space. On Earth's surface, Guardians and modern humans embraced, crying and laughing together. Deho sat in his command chair, exhausted but happy. His ship had survived. His crew had survived. Earth had survived. Well done, everyone, he said quietly. Well done. Over the next weeks, the system transformed. Colonial fleets established permanent stations around Earth. Engineers began repairing damage from the battle. Scientists studied the ancient technology, learning from systems that had protected the planet for centuries. Commander Yunji and Admiral Jinho formed a joint command structure, combining Earth defense with the colonial fleet. They began planning for the inevitable return of the Dominion. Next time humanity would be ready. Next time they would be stronger. Jiwoo and Mirai opened the Earth archives to scholars from across the galaxy. Thousands of researchers came to study humanity's past. They recovered art, music, literature, history. The cultural renaissance that followed would reshape human civilization for generations. Taewon worked with modern scientists to understand Earth's core weapon. They developed safeguards, limits, and proper protocols. The weapon would remain as a last resort, but now it was controlled, understood. No longer just a desperate gamble, the Guardians integrated with modern humanity. Some chose to return to stasis, satisfied that Earth was safe. Others stayed awake, eager to see what humanity had become. They shared stories of old Earth, taught ancient skills, and learned about the worlds their sacrifice had saved. 1 year after the battle, a monument was dedicated in the rebuilt Seoul. It showed two figures, one in ancient armor, one in modern uniform, standing side by side. Guardian and colonist, past and present, united in defense of home. The inscription was in Korean and in the common language used across human space. Hyunwoo had helped write it, choosing words carefully to honor both the sacrifice of the past and the courage of the present. Daeho stood at the dedication ceremony with his crew. The Infinite Horizon had been repaired and upgraded. He had received a new commission as Fleet Admiral of Earth Defense. But today wasn't about rank or position. Today was about remembering. Yoonji stood beside him, now serving as Commander of Planetary Defense. She looked at the monument with satisfaction. "We did it," she said quietly. "We kept Earth safe until our children came home. And now we'll keep it safe together," Daeho replied. Jiwoo unveiled the monument with Mirai. The two historians had become close friends, bridging 6 centuries with their shared love of human culture. As the covering fell away, revealing the statue beneath, the crowd erupted in applause. Minho, now a decorated pilot, stood with Soman. The engineer had been promoted to Chief of Engineering for the entire defense fleet. They watched the ceremony together, remembering those desperate days when everything hung in the balance. Sunho and Kwan stood with other soldiers, both Guardian and modern. They had trained together, fought together, and now served together. The differences between ancient and current military doctrine had merged into something stronger than either alone. That evening, as Earth's sun set over Seoul, the entire planet paused. In orbit, ships dimmed their lights. On the surface, cities went silent. For 1 minute, humanity remembered. They remembered the scattering. They remembered the Guardians who stayed behind. They remembered the battle that brought them home. Then the lights came back on. Life continued. But now humanity knew where they came from. They knew what their ancestors had sacrificed. And they knew that no matter how far they traveled, no matter how many worlds they settled, Earth would always be home. Daeho looked up at the stars appearing in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, the Dominion was planning their next move. Other threats would come. Other challenges would arise. But humanity had faced the darkness before and survived. They had scattered across the galaxy and found their way home. They would face whatever came next the same way they had faced everything. Together. Hyunwoo stood beside him, looking at the same stars. "What happens now?" the young officer asked. Daeho smiled. Now we live. We build, we explore. We remember the past and create the future." 4 days passed in a blur of preparation and anticipation. The ancient shipyard came fully online, and the 5 Earth defense ships launched from their docks. They were beautiful in a brutal way, all sharp angles and heavy armor. Guardian crews piloted them, their skills returning as if they had never been gone. The orbital defense platforms formed a ring around Earth, their weapons charged and ready. On the surface, ground installations pointed toward the sky. Energy flowed through systems that had been dormant for centuries. Earth was waking up, and it was angry. Commander Yunji stood in the command center watching multiple displays simultaneously. Modern sensor technology combined with ancient tactical systems gave her a view of the entire star system. She saw the Sentinel satellites at the edge of the system. She saw the infinite horizon and the 5 defense cruisers in orbit. She saw her home, blue and green and beautiful. Any word from the colonies? She asked. Hyunwoo shook his head. The transmission should reach the nearest colony today. After that, it depends on how quickly they can mobilize. 6 days, Deho said. He had been repeating it like a mantra. The nearest colonies are 6 days away at maximum FTL speed, and the Dominion fleet should arrive today. As if summoned by his words, alerts began blaring across every console. At the edge of the system, new contacts appeared. Ships emerging from FTL, dozens of them. The Dominion had arrived. Taewon analyzed the sensor readings. 52 warships. They brought exactly what the Sentinels recommended. He looked pleased. Our deception worked. Deho studied the enemy fleet. The ships were organic-looking, asymmetrical, like they had grown rather than been built. Each one was massive, dwarfing the human vessels. Weapon ports covered their hulls like scales. They're not attacking immediately, Sunho observed. Why? They're scanning, Yunji said. Looking for defenses for ships for any sign of resistance. Let them look. The Dominion fleet moved inward slowly, cautiously. When they reached the orbit of what Earth had once called Mars, they stopped. A communication signal pierced the silence. Attention, human vessels, a voice said. It was translated by their computers, emotionless and cold. You are in violation of Dominion space. The planet designated as Earth Prime has been claimed by the Dominion. Surrender immediately and you will be processed. Resist and you will be eliminated, Yunji smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Hyunwoo, open a channel. Channel open, Commander. This is Commander Yunji of Earth Defense. You are trespassing in human space. Earth does not belong to the Dominion. It never has and it never will. Leave now and you'll be allowed to retreat. Stay and face the consequences. There was a pause. Then, you speak boldly for a primitive species. You have 6 ships against our 52. You cannot win. 6 ships, Yunji mused. You're forgetting about the orbital platforms, and the surface weapons, and the planetary defense grid, and 600 years of human anger waiting to be released. She closed the channel and turned to her team. All ships, battle stations, defense platforms power to maximum. Surface batteries, stand ready. Show them what defending home means. The Dominion fleet accelerated toward Earth. They clearly expected a quick victory. 6 human ships against 52 alien warships seemed like a mismatch. But the Dominion had made a critical error. They had never fought humans defending their homeworld before. The Earth defense cruisers moved to intercept. Ancient though they were, the ships were fast and maneuverable. Guardian crews piloted them with precision born of training and desperation. They formed a defensive line between Earth and the approaching fleet. Weapons range in 30 seconds, Minho reported from the infinite horizon. The survey ship had been armed with what weapons could be installed quickly. It wasn't much, but Minho refused to stay out of the fight. Fire at will, Deho ordered. The battle began with a wave of missiles from the orbital platforms, hundreds of them, each one guided by advanced targeting systems. The Dominion fleet responded with point defense fire, shooting down missiles by the dozen. But not all of them. Several missiles got through, impacting against alien shields. The Dominion ships returned fire. Energy beams lanced through space, striking orbital platforms and Earth ships. Shields held but barely. The enemy weapons were powerful, designed to overwhelm defenses through sheer force. Evasive maneuvers, Captain of the defense cruiser Soul's Pride ordered. The ship rolled and dove, dodging incoming fire. Its own weapons blazed, railguns firing projectiles at a fraction of light speed. The rounds punched through a Dominion ship's shields and into its hull. The alien vessel shuddered but didn't fall. They're tough, Sunho said from his station. He was manning weapons on one of the orbital platforms, coordinating with Guardian gunners. Our weapons are doing damage but not enough. Yunji watched the battle unfold with calculating eyes. Target their propulsion systems. Don't try to destroy them. Cripple them, the tactics changed. Human weapons focused on engines and maneuvering thrusters. It was harder to hit specific systems, but the effect was dramatic. Dominion ships lost mobility, becoming easier targets. More missiles found their marks. More railgun rounds punched through weakened shields, but the Dominion fleet kept coming. They had numbers and firepower on their side. One by one, the orbital platforms went dark, destroyed by concentrated fire. The defense cruiser Busan's Fury took a direct hit to its reactor. The ship exploded in a flash of light, taking its entire crew with it. Jiwoo watched from the command center, her hands clenched into fists. Those Guardians had survived 600 years in stasis only to die in the first battle for Earth. It seemed cruel, unfair. They died defending home, Mirai said softly beside her. They died making sure Earth would be here when help arrives. That's all they wanted. The battle raged for 3 hours. Human defenders fought with skill and determination, but the Dominion had too many ships. Another defense cruiser fell. Then another. The Infinite Horizon took heavy damage, life support failing. But Minho kept it in the fight. Defensive line collapsing. Taewon reported grimly. They're going to reach Earth's atmosphere in 15 minutes. Then we give them a warm welcome, Yoonji said. Activate surface weapons. On the planet below, massive weapon installations rose from hidden bunkers. Railguns the size of buildings. Laser arrays that could cut through starship hulls. Missile silos containing warheads that had waited 6 centuries to be used. All of them pointed skyward. Fire, Yoonji commanded. Earth struck back. The surface weapons had advantages space-based platforms didn't have. They could draw power directly from the planetary grid. They had stronger foundations for recoil absorption. They could generate more destructive force. Dominion ships entering high orbit found themselves in a killing field. Railgun rounds traveling at incredible velocities punched through shields like paper. Lasers scored deep wounds across alien hulls. Missiles launched in swarms, too many to intercept. 3 Dominion ships died in the first volley, 2 more in the second. The alien fleet broke off their attack run, retreating to higher orbit. They regrouped, reevaluated, and realized they had made a terrible mistake. Earth wasn't undefended. Earth was a fortress. Damage report, Daeho demanded. His ship was barely functioning, held together by Soman's genius and luck. We lost 2 more defense cruisers. 1 orbital platform still operational at 40% capacity. Surface weapons at 90% and ready for another round. Enemy status, 41 ships remaining. They're holding position outside effective range of surface weapons. Yoonji studied the tactical display. They're calling for reinforcements. Hyunwoo, can you intercept their communications? Already on it, Commander. They're sending a message back to Dominion space, reporting heavier than expected resistance, requesting additional ships. How long for reinforcements to arrive? 4 more days, maybe 5. Daeho felt a surge of hope. And our reinforcements? First colony fleets should arrive in 3 days. The mathematics of war had shifted. If they could hold for 3 more days, human forces would arrive first. They would have numerical superiority. They could push the Dominion back, but 3 days was an eternity in combat. The Dominion fleet wouldn't sit idle. They would probe, test, look for weaknesses, and sooner or later they would find one. We need to buy more time, Yoonji said. Taewon, is the core weapon ready? The scientist hesitated. Commander, using the core weapon isn't like firing a gun. It's like setting off a bomb under your own city. The energy release could cause tectonic instability, massive earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. Earth would survive, but millions of years of recovery would be needed. I'm not asking if we should use it. I'm asking if it's ready. It's ready, Yoonji nodded slowly. Good. Let's hope we don't need it. The Dominion fleet tested the defenses over the next day. They sent small groups of ships to probe different areas looking for weak spots. Human defenders fought them off each time, but casualties mounted. Another orbital platform fell. Surface weapons took damage from long-range bombardment. Quan led ground forces in repairing damaged installations between attacks. The veteran soldier worked tirelessly, his hands dirty with oil and debris. This reminds me of the old days, he told Sunho, before the scattering. When we knew the Dominion was coming and we prepared these defenses, did you think they'd ever be used? Sunho asked. The command center beneath Earth's surface transformed into a hive of activity. Guardians who had slept for 6 centuries worked alongside modern humans, their hands flying across ancient and new technology alike. Commander Unji stood at the center of it all. coordinating like she had only been asleep for a night instead of generations. Status on the orbital platforms, she called out. Taewon looked up from his console. 70% operational. The rest need manual repairs. We'll have teams up there within the hour. The shipyards? 5 ships are intact, another Guardian reported. Old defense cruisers. We can have them ready to fly in 12 hours. Somin listened to all of this from her position on the infinite horizon, amazement growing with each report. Captain, she said quietly to Daeho, these people built weapons that put our modern arsenal to shame. If this is what Earth had 600 years ago, imagine what they could do with current technology. Daeho understood what she meant. The Guardians represented humanity at its most desperate and most brilliant. They had built defenses to hold off an empire while their people escaped. Now reunited with their descendants, that same brilliance could shine again. But first, they had to survive the next few hours. Sentinel Network is preparing to transmit in 3 hours, Hyunwoo announced. Should I try to jam them? No, Yoonji said through the communication link. Let them send their message. We need the Dominion to think Earth is undefended. The longer they believe that, the better. That's a dangerous game, Daeho warned. War is always dangerous, Yoonji replied. But this is our world, our home. We know every meter of this planet, every system, every hidden weapon. They don't. Jiwoo was deep in the archives with Mirai, the Guardian historian. Together they were cataloging humanity's lost treasures. Art, music, literature, science. The wealth of human knowledge that had been preserved in perfect condition. Mirai wept as she showed Jiwoo ancient Korean paintings, classical music files, videos of Earth before the scattering. We thought we were saving these for a future that might never come, Mirai said softly. We thought humanity might forget Earth entirely. But you came back. You remembered? We never forgot, Jiwoo assured her. Every human child is taught about Earth. About the sky that was blue and the grass that was green. About the place where humanity first dreamed. Then let's make sure that dream doesn't die here. They worked faster, copying files, securing data. The transmission to the colonies was at 60% now. Every second that passed was another piece of human history saved. Another fragment of knowledge preserved. If they failed, if Earth fell, at least humanity would remember what they had lost. On the surface, Sunho led Guardian soldiers to prepare defensive positions. The ancient warriors were older than him by centuries, but they treated him as an equal. Together they activated weapon emplacements, checked ammunition stores, and planned fields of fire. You fight differently than we did, observed a Guardian named Kwan. The scarred soldier had been a special forces officer before volunteering for stasis. Your tactics are more cautious. We had 600 years of peace, Sunho admitted. Most modern humans have never seen real war. You're about to, Kwan said grimly. The Dominion doesn't negotiate. They don't retreat. They take what they want, and they enslave anyone who resists. Then we'll teach them that humans don't enslave easily. In orbit, Minho piloted the infinite horizon to one of the ancient shipyards. The structure was enormous, a ring of metal and alloy that could build vessels the size of cities. 5 ships floated in their docks, each one bristling with weapons. They were old by modern standards, but they had been built with the finest technology Earth possessed at the time. Guardian engineers floated through space, running repairs and system checks. Minho watched them work with admiration. These people had been born in an era when space travel was still relatively new. Now they worked in zero gravity like they had never left. The ships are ready, one engineer reported to Yoonji. We can launch whenever you give the order. Hold position, Yoonji commanded. When the Sentinels send their message, the Dominion will see only a dead world and dormant defenses. Let them think that. When their scouts arrive, we'll show them otherwise. The 3-hour mark approached. The Sentinel network aligned itself, massive dishes pointing toward Dominion space. Energy built in their cores, preparing for the transmission that would tell an empire that Earth had been found. Daeho sat in his command chair, watching the countdown. His crew was silent. The Guardians were silent. Everyone waited for the moment that would change everything. Transmission beginning, Hyunwoo reported. The Sentinels sent their message. It would take 2 days to reach the Dominion. Then the Empire would know that Earth, the human homeworld they had tried to destroy, still existed. They would come with everything they had. Data transmission to the colonies is at 90%, Soman said. 36 hours total. We're almost there. Yunji activated the communication channel to every human on Earth and in orbit. This is Commander Yunji to all personnel. The message has been sent. The Dominion knows we're here. But so will our people. Help is coming from 1,000 worlds. We just need to hold until they arrive. She paused, her voice growing stronger. 600 years ago, we made a choice. We chose to hide Earth, to protect it, to preserve it for a future generation. That generation is here now. You are the proof that our sacrifice meant something. You are the proof that humanity survived. Now it's our turn to make a choice. We can run or we can stand. We can abandon Earth again or we can defend it. I know what I'm choosing. I'm choosing to fight. I'm choosing to make sure that when our people arrive, they have a home to come back to. Who's with me? The answer came from every human present. Modern crew and ancient guardians speaking as one voice. We are. The preparation intensified. Guardian engineers taught Soman how to use Earth's ancient defense systems. She combined their knowledge with modern technology, creating hybrid systems more powerful than either alone. Weapons that had been designed 6 centuries ago now received targeting systems from the latest human innovations. Taewan worked with the Infinite Horizons science team, analyzing the Sentinel network. They're powerful, he admitted, but they're predictable. They're automated, following protocols. If we can understand those protocols, we can exploit them. Can we shut them down? Taeho asked. No, but we might be able to fool them. Make them think Earth is more defended than it is. Make them advise the Dominion to send a larger fleet. Why would we want that? Taewan smiled. Because the larger the fleet, the longer it takes to assemble. Every day of delay is another day for human reinforcements to arrive. It was a gamble, but everything about this situation was a gamble. Daeho approved the plan. They began feeding false data to the Sentinels, making Earth's defenses look more formidable. The Sentinels, being automated, couldn't distinguish real from fake. They analyzed the data and adjusted their message to the Dominion accordingly. Message updated, Hyunwoo reported hours later. The Sentinels are now telling the Dominion that Earth has significant defensive capabilities. They're recommending a fleet of at least 50 warships. How long will it take the Dominion to assemble that many ships? Daeho asked. 4 days instead of 3, Taewan said. It's not much, but it might be enough. Jiwoo and Miri finished copying the archives. Every file, every piece of human history was now secured and being transmitted to the colonies. The data stream would reach human space in 3 days. Even if Earth fell, humanity would know its true past. They would know where they came from and what they had sacrificed. There's something else down here, Miri said, leading Jiwoo to a sealed vault. Something Commander Taesong left. The last message. They opened the vault together. Inside was a single data crystal pulsing with light. Jiwoo picked it up carefully. When she inserted it into a reader, a hologram appeared. It was Commander Taesong again, the old man from the first message. But this time he looked even more tired, even more worn. If you're seeing this, he said, then the Sentinels have activated. The Dominion is coming. I'm sorry we couldn't prevent that. But I want you to know something about Earth, about what we built in those last days. The hologram changed, showing schematics, diagrams, mathematical equations that made Jiwoo's head spin. Earth isn't just a planet anymore, Taesong continued. It's a weapon. We converted the planetary core into the largest fusion reactor ever built. If necessary, if all else fails, Earth can become a star. For approximately 30 seconds before it destroys itself. Jiwoo felt her blood run cold.
He turned the planet into a bomb. A last resort, Mirai whispered.
If the Dominion took Earth, we would deny it to them permanently. Does Yunji know about this? She does now, came Yunji's voice. The commander had been listening through the communication link. Commander Taesong briefed all senior officers before we went into stasis. It was our final option, our last card to play. You're not actually considering using it? Taeho demanded. Only if there's no other choice, Yunji said firmly. Only if the Dominion would take Earth and use it against humanity. Better a dead world than an enslaved one. The weight of that decision hung over them all. Earth, the birthplace of humanity, could be destroyed by humanity itself. The shuttle climbed through Earth's atmosphere at maximum speed. Daeho gripped his seat as Minho pushed the engines beyond their safe limits. Below them, the ancient ruins grew smaller, but the sense of danger only increased. Talk to me, Soman, Daeho said into his communicator. What are we dealing with? The engineer's voice came through with static. Sir, there are objects on the edge of the system. They were dormant, but they're powering up now. I count 15 massive structures. They look like satellites, but they're each the size of a city. Jiwoo was still breathing hard from their run through the complex. Sentinels, she said. The commander's message mentioned Sentinels. The Dominion must have left them here to watch Earth. How long before they're fully active? Taeho asked. 12 hours, maybe less, someone replied. Captain, these things are starting to scan the system. They're looking for ships, for signals. If they detect us, they'll send a message to Dominion space. Sunho slammed his fist against the shuttle wall. How long would it take that message to reach them? At their transmission speeds? 2 days, maybe 3. The shuttle docked with the infinite horizon roughly. Taeho was out of his seat before they finished pressurizing. He ran to the bridge with his team behind him. The main display showed the Sentinel satellites now glowing with power. They were spreading out, forming a net around the system. Options, Taeho demanded. Soman shook her head. We could run, jump to FTL and get out of here before they finish their scans. But if we do that, we abandon Earth. We abandon whatever's down there. The Guardians, Jiwoo said firmly. We have to go back for the Guardians and the archives. The hologram said there are complete records of human history down there. Technology, culture, science, everything humanity lost during the scattering. Yunwoo pulled up data on his screen. According to the archives we've already downloaded, Earth's last defenders stored genetic databases too. Seeds from every plant species, DNA samples from animals. If we leave, all of that stays buried. Taeho closed his eyes for a moment. He was a ship captain, not a war commander. He was trained to explore, to survey, to map, not to make decisions that affected the entire human species. But here he was, standing at a crossroads that would echo through history. Can we transmit the data to the colonies? He asked. Somin ran calculations. The Sentinel network will block any fast transmissions. But we could use the old Earth communication array. It's still functioning. It would take 36 hours to send everything, and the signal would be slow enough to slip through their blocking. 36 hours, Taeho repeated. And how long before those Sentinels finish scanning and send their alert? 48 hours. That gives us 12 hours to get out after the transmission finishes. Tight, but possible. He looked around at his crew. But it means going back down. It means waking those Guardians and risking exposure. I volunteer to stay with the ship, Minho said immediately. Someone needs to pilot if things go wrong. I'm going back down, Jiwoo said. There was steel in her voice that Taeho had never heard before. This is what I've trained for my entire life. I'm not leaving. One by one, the crew volunteered. Nobody wanted to run. Nobody wanted to abandon Earth without a fight. Taeho felt pride swell in his chest. This was humanity. This was why they survived the scattering, not because they were the strongest or the smartest, but because they refused to give up. All right, he said. Someone start the data transmission. Use every communication array Earth has. Hyunwoo, help her break through any encryption. Jiwoo, Sunho, you're with me. We're going back down to wake the Guardians. The second landing was faster than the first. They knew where they were going now. The Guardian chambers were deep beneath the memorial complex, accessed through a sealed door that required both ancient passwords and genetic verification. Jiwoo worked through the security systems while Sunho stood guard. Got it, Jiwoo said as the door hissed open. Cold air rushed out, centuries old, preserved by technology that still functioned perfectly. The chamber beyond was vast. Rows of crystalline pods stretched into the darkness, each one containing a human in suspended animation. Status lights blinked green on every pod. 10,000 lights. 10,000 Guardians who chose to stay behind while the rest of humanity fled. Which one do we wake first? Sunho asked quietly. The sight was overwhelming, humbling. Jiwoo checked the manifest on a nearby terminal. The commander. She's in Pod 1. Commander Yoonji. She was in charge of the defense operations. They approached the first pod. Inside, a woman floated in preservation fluid. She looked to be in her 40s, her face peaceful, her military uniform still crisp. A badge on her chest showed her rank and name. Taeho initiated the revival sequence. The pod began to drain. Warming systems activated. After 600 years of sleep, Commander Yoonji was coming back to life. The process took 20 minutes. They watched as color returned to her skin, as her chest began to rise and fall with breathing. Her eyes opened. For a moment she stared at the ceiling, confused. Then training took over. She sat up sharply, looked around, assessed her situation. Her eyes locked onto Taeho. Report, she said. Her voice was rough from disuse but firm. How long was I under? Did we hold them off? Did the colony ships escape? Commander, Deho said gently. It's been 600 years. The colony ships made it. Humanity survived. We came back. Yunji blinked once, twice, then she started to laugh. It was a sound mixed with tears, with relief, with joy so profound it hurt to hear. 600 years, she whispered. We did it. We actually did it. Over the next hours, they woke more guardians. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, teachers. Each one reacted differently to the news, but all of them wept when they learned humanity had survived. A historian named Mirai hugged Jiwoo and wouldn't let go. A scientist named Taewon immediately asked Soman about technological advances. Commander Yunji adapted quickly. She listened to Deho explain the situation with the Sentinels, the data transmission, the time limit they faced. Her expression grew grim. The Sentinels were supposed to last forever, she said. They're automated. If they detect activity on Earth, they send an alert. If the alert reaches the Dominion, they'll send a fleet. Can we destroy them? Sunho asked. Not without triggering the alert anyway. They're designed to transmit if damaged. Yunji stood up, her legs still shaky from 6 centuries of sleep. But we might not have to destroy them. Follow me. She led them deeper into the complex to a command center that hadn't been on any map. Ancient computers came to life at her touch. Screens flickered, showing Earth from orbit, showing the Sentinel network, showing systems Deho didn't recognize. Earth isn't defenseless, Yunji explained. We built weapons, massive defense platforms in orbit, ships in hidden shipyards, energy weapons powered by the planet's core. We couldn't activate them because they would have drawn the Dominion here immediately. But if they're coming anyway, we could fight, Deho realized. We could fight, Yunji confirmed. But I need my people. I need time, and I need to know what humanity became while we slept. Jiwoo stepped forward. We became strong. We spread across 1,000 worlds. We built new civilizations, new cultures. We remembered Earth even if we forgot where it was. And now we're coming home, Yunji smiled. It was a warrior's smile, hard and determined. Then let's make sure there's a home for them to come back to. The data transmission had been running for 8 hours when the Sentinel network finished its scans. On the bridge of the infinite horizon, alarms began to sound. Somin cursed and worked frantically at her console. They found us, she said. The Sentinels detected our ship. They're preparing to transmit to Dominion space. How long? Deho demanded. Transmission begins in 4 hours. Once it starts, we have 48 hours before the Dominion receives it. Down on Earth, Commander Unji heard the news through the communication link. She looked at the guardians around her, at the ancient weapons coming online, at the impossible odds they faced. Then we have 4 hours to change their minds, she said calmly. Wake everyone. Activate the defense grid, and someone send a message to the colonies. Tell them Earth needs them. She turned to Taewon, the scientist. How long would it take for help to arrive from the nearest human world? 6 days, he replied quietly. And how long until the Dominion fleet gets here after receiving the alert? 4 days, Yunji nodded slowly. Then we hold for 10 days. We hold Earth until our children arrive. She looked at each person in the room. We stayed behind so humanity could survive. Now we make sure they have something to survive for. Captain Deho stared at the holographic display with narrowed eyes. Something was wrong with this sector of space. The sensor showed nothing but empty void, yet his instincts told him otherwise. He had been commanding the survey ship Infinite Horizon for 12 years, and he had learned to trust those instincts. Run the scan again, he ordered from his command chair. Use the deep-range sensors this time. Lieutenant Minho worked quickly at his console, his young fingers dancing across the controls. The pilot was fresh from the academy, barely 25, but he had a gift for finding things others missed. Sir, I'm getting some weird readings. There's a gravitational anomaly at coordinate 774. Let me see, said Dr. Jiwoo, rising from her station. The archaeologist moved to stand beside the captain, her dark eyes scanning the data. She had spent her entire career searching for traces of lost human history. Earth had been gone for 600 years, destroyed during the great exodus humanity called the Scattering. At least that was what everyone believed. The display flickered and suddenly a planet appeared where nothing had been before. The bridge crew gasped in unison. Deho felt his heart skip a beat. The planet was hidden behind some kind of advanced camouflage system, invisible to normal scans. That's impossible, whispered Soman, the ship's engineer. She stood up from her station, staring at the screen. That technology shouldn't exist. No known civilization has stealth capabilities that sophisticated. Hyunwoo, the communications officer, turned in his chair. Captain, I'm detecting faint energy signatures from the surface. They're old, very old. The pattern matches descriptions from the historical archives. Jiwoo grabbed the edge of the console, her knuckles turning white. How old? Approximately 600 years, Hyunwoo replied quietly. The bridge fell silent. 600 years ago was when the scattering happened, when humanity fled Earth in a desperate escape, spreading across the galaxy in thousands of colony ships. The exact location of Earth had been lost in the chaos. Maps were destroyed, coordinates scrambled. It became a legend, a bedtime story parents told their children about the world where humans first looked up at the stars. Take us closer, Daeho commanded. His voice was steady, but inside he felt a storm of emotions. Slowly. I want full sensor sweeps every kilometer. The infinite horizon moved through space like a cautious predator. As they approached the planet, more details emerged. The world was blue and green, with white clouds swirling across its surface. It looked almost exactly like Earth was described in the old texts. Continents shaped like ancient maps, oceans covering most of the surface. I'm detecting massive structures on the largest continent, Minho reported. They're buried, but they're definitely artificial. Some kind of ruins covering hundreds of square kilometers. Jiwoo was already pulling up comparison data from the archives. Her hands shook as she worked. The continental shapes match. The size matches. The atmospheric composition matches. She looked up at Daeho with tears in her eyes. Captain, I think we found Earth. The words hung in the air like thunder. Every person on the bridge felt the weight of that moment. They had found humanity's birth world, the place where their species took its first breath, where they built their first cities, where they first dreamed of touching the stars. Daeho stood up slowly. Prepare a landing team. Jiwoo, Minho, and Sunho, you're with me. Soman, you have the ship. If anything goes wrong down there, you get everyone out of this system immediately. Sir, shouldn't we report this first? Soman asked. This is the biggest discovery in human history. We will, Daeho assured her. But first, I need to know what we're dealing with. If this is Earth, we need to understand why it was hidden, and we need to know if it's safe. The landing team prepared quickly. They gathered equipment, weapons, and recording devices. Within 2 hours, they were boarding the shuttle. Sunho, the security officer, checked his weapon 3 times. The muscular man was always thorough, always careful. I don't like this, he muttered. A whole planet just sitting here hidden. Someone went to a lot of trouble to keep this place secret. That's why you're coming with us, Daeho said, strapping into his seat. Stay alert! The shuttle descended through the atmosphere. The planet's surface grew larger in the viewport. They could see the ruins now, massive structures rising from the ground like the bones of ancient giants. Some buildings were collapsed, others stood intact, frozen in time. Minho guided the shuttle to a flat area near the largest structure. As they landed, dust rose around them in clouds. When it settled, they could see a plaza made of some kind of stone, still smooth after 6 centuries. Strange symbols marked the ground in patterns. That's Korean, Jiwoo breathed, staring at the symbols. Ancient Korean script. This was Seoul. This was the capital of the old Korean nation. They exited the shuttle with weapons ready. The air was breathable, slightly cool, with a hint of moisture. It felt like home, though none of them had ever been here before. Something in their DNA recognized this place, this world that made them. The largest structure was a building that had sunk partially into the ground. Its entrance was a gaping doorway, dark and uninviting. Daeho activated his flashlight and stepped forward. Stay close. Weapons ready. Inside, the building opened into a vast chamber. Their lights revealed walls covered in more symbols and images. Jiwoo moved from wall to wall, reading, translating, gasping at what she found. This is a memorial, she said. A memorial to the scattering. Look, there are billions of names here. Every person who left Earth is recorded on these walls. They moved deeper into the structure, following a corridor that sloped downward. The air grew cooler. After what felt like an hour of walking, they entered another chamber. This one was filled with equipment, machines that still hummed with power after 600 years. In the center of the room stood a holographic projector. As they approached, it activated automatically. A figure appeared, life-sized and clear. An old man in military uniform, his face lined with exhaustion and determination. If you're seeing this, the hologram said, then humanity has survived. Then our sacrifice meant something. I am Commander Taesong, last defender of Earth. This message is for our children, however many generations removed. We did not flee because we were afraid. We scattered because we refused to kneel. The hologram continued, telling a story that made Daeho's blood run cold. An alien empire called the Dominion had discovered Earth. They demanded humanity's submission, wanted to add humans to their collective of enslaved species. Earth's leaders chose freedom over safety. They built experimental faster-than-light drives and sent every human they could into space, scattering them across the galaxy where the Dominion could never find them all. We who stayed behind built this shield, the hologram explained. We hid Earth so the Dominion could never use it against you. We left these archives so you would never forget who you are, and we left guardians, volunteers, and stasis waiting for your return. The message ended with coordinates to the Guardian chambers deeper in the complex. But before they could move, alarms began blaring throughout the building. Red lights flashed along the walls. Yunwu's voice crackled through their communicators. Captain, the planetary defense system's just activated. Something on the edge of the system is waking up. It's big, sir. Really big. Daeho felt ice fill his veins. Get back to the shuttle, now! As they ran through the corridors, Jiwoo grabbed his arm. The Guardians, we have to wake them. First we survive, Daeho growled. Then we wake the dead.